Pasco is in the house. Are you ready?
Yes, we are ready.
Proceed.
Somos Pasco.
We are Pasco.
I'm Matt Watkins, Mayor of Pasco, Washington. The city of Pasco is a dynamic community that has doubled in population in 20 years and expected to nearly double in the next 20. With that growth, the community has had many positive developments and also some serious challenges. Through them, the community has come closer together as one Pasco, meeting these trials head-on and with pride. We're going to tell you a little bit more about 3 particular projects that exemplify what Pasco has done to face those challenges and also better engage our community. The first is our recent change to council elections, where we had to navigate a federal lawsuit and overcome state law to give our residents a more representative council. And it'll be presented by our city manager, Dave Zabel.
To know Pasco, it's important to understand that the doubling that the mayor talked about was driven largely by a 450% increase in our Latino population since 1990. And Pasco today is a majority-minority community, Latino community, and for roughly a decade it's been that way. Yet, until this year, representation on our 7-member city council did not reflect that majority. Matter of fact, we'd never had more than 1 elected Latino serving at any one time on our city council. While Latino candidates fared well in the areas that they lived in, our elections were held on a general at-large basis, and that favored other candidates. Clearly, the state law requiring that city council elections be held on an at-large basis diluted the Hispanic vote. In response, the council took it upon themselves to make changing that law a #1 priority for legislative agenda. And we worked that agenda for 2 years. Ultimately, the legislature failed to change the law, and then subsequent to that, the ACLU filed a lawsuit against the city that the mayor mentioned, alleging violations of the Voter Rights Act. So rather than fight the lawsuit, the city saw this as a great opportunity to do what we could do through federal case law, what we could not do through the legislature. And through that process, we reached a settlement, court-approved settlement with the ACLU, allowing for district-based elections. We had our next election, the results were immediate. We had 5 new council members, and 3 of those council members were Latinos. Yeah. So we went from 1 seat to 3 seats. It is now my honor to introduce you to one of our new council members, Councilmember Ruben Alvarado.
Hello. I am part of the new, young, and energetic Pasco City Council. While my election was won by a large margin, under the citywide election system, my election would have not been possible. My district, for many years, have been disengaged, and many in the community felt like voting would not make a difference, like it wouldn't matter. Since the change to district-based elections, we have seen a significant increase in the Latino voter districts. And it has empowered the Latino community to feel like they finally have a voice. I remember while campaigning, I saw one of the kids in my neighborhood carrying one of my signs. And me thinking, hey, where are you going with that sign? But he was actually looking for me, trying to bring it back, because he told me, Ruben, I have your sign. Someone dropped it, but I wanted to get it for you because I want you to win. And I remember feeling like, I hope maybe, just maybe, this could inspire this young youth to one day be my city council member. Pasco is a city that strives to improve the quality of life of all its people. And having a diverse and representative city council is a win for all in the community. At this time, I'd like to introduce my dear friend and community leader, Ana Ruiz Peralta, to tell you about Somos Pasco.
Buenos dias. What an honor to be here. Somos Pasco is our community-wide economic vision for the next 20 years. Somos Pasco means we are Pasco. This was the first time Pasco's migrant community not only had a seat at the table, but a leadership role. Pasco is a very young community. Our median age is 29. Planning for the next 20 years meant we were planning for our kids, our youth. Therefore, it was important to get their view, their vision. We needed their voice. We needed to have their voice in our plan. So we reached out to college students. We have a focus group with them, and also our high school seniors, we asked them to put their thoughts, their vision for Pasco in a video. So we awarded scholarships to them, to the winners. It was really cool to see their visions. It brought tears to our eyes. It was so touching to see what their thoughts and ideas was for a better and more inclusive Pasco, and even more prosperous Pasco than we had already. So also during the process, we realized that it didn't matter where you live, whether you were young or old, or you lived whatever part of Pasco you lived, or your ethnicity. Everybody had the same vision, the same dream. It was really touching. A priority project that we are now working, that came out of Somos Pasco, we're working on this and making into fruition, is a sisterhood with a city in Mexico. It's my beloved Colima, Mexico, and it's really exciting to see how the community is looking forward to extending these roots that we've had and bringing those to Pasco and from Colima. So Somos Pasco is an example of us embracing our Hispanic heritage. Pasco is growing, as you know. We are thankful to those that paved the way. The baton has been passed to us, and we take very seriously this responsibility to create a greater city for future generations. Somos Pasco begins the next chapter. So at this point, it's my absolute pleasure to introduce our fantastic Chief of Police, Bob Metzger.
The Pasco Police Department had an officer-involved shooting in February 2015 that made national headlines. But the reaction in our community was different than in other communities across the country. We met immediately with members of the community, both protesters and citizens, in an effort of unity. We sat down with them and planned out their demonstrations that followed. And what it involved in that was we had peaceful demonstrations that had no damage, including even a cracked pane of glass, and the actual park that they demonstrated, and it was cleaner when they left than when they came. We continued to work, though. We didn't stop there, and we continued to work with our local groups, including the ACLU and others, to redo our use of force policy with their input. We also have put together a new program called Hotspotters, which is dealing with those with mental health within the police department. Just this past week, we were notified we had a $1.5 million grant to add a mental health professional embedded into the police department, which is a new program for us, and we hope to continue that. We also have become state accredited, and we're working on national accreditation. But this wasn't done just by myself. It included a team, and the next speaker, Sergeant Prunetta, was part of that team.
As a police officer, I am entrenched in the community. I work with amazing students, teachers, and business leaders. After our officer-involved shooting, our community spirit was tested. People were hurt. It was my job as a community liaison to open up the lines of communication. We met with our community and we listened to them. We even fundraised money for a local baker whose business was affected by the shooting. We developed a fantastic social media platform. You guys should follow us on Facebook. We have the most followers in any law enforcement agency in Washington State, and we're proud of that. The love of this community is great. I want you to know that. And after one of our demonstrations, a few officers were having lunch in a restaurant, and a Latino man came in and he wanted to pray over them in Spanish, and he did. And this was evidence that our community spirit was never broken. Next up is Officer Ana Ramos.
So my experience with Pasco is when I graduated from high school, I joined Citizens Academy, and there I learned about the Explorer program. So I went through that, and when I was old enough, I joined the reserves, and from there I became a full-time police officer. But I tested for several departments in the area, but I always had the dream of working for Pasco. I saw how they were always helpful, they were fair, and they were professional, and that's what I wanted to be a part of. I love my job, and there's nothing else I would rather do, and now I have the opportunity to help other explorers and be active in my community. Next up, community member Pete Ricky.
3.5 years ago, after the shooting of Antonio Zambrano Montes, Pasco feared it would become the next Ferguson, Missouri. But hatred was not allowed to grow. Instead, a dialogue was started, and even though long and hard and difficult and oftentimes very tense, my trust and the community's trust with these officers was restored. Today, our new police manual starts with a statement of the sanctity of life, and I quote, "Officers shall hold the highest regard for the dignity and liberty of all persons." In Pasco, we believe that all people can live together peaceably and thrive, and that, we believe, is the essence of an all-America city.
We hope these three projects illustrate the ongoing goal towards a one Pasco. And we look forward to Judge's decision in choosing Pasco as an all-America city. And as we conclude, we look forward to your questions. We are Pasco.
Somos Pasco!